Okay. All right, 10th grade. We are going to get started with Chapter 5, uh, Lesson 5-1. Okay, the first lesson we're talking about civil law and procedure here. So, everybody ready? Okay. 10th grade. Ready? Yes. Yes. I would like you to type it yes, or at least jot some notes down. Thank you. Okay? No. Okay. Private injuries versus public offenses. We are going to discuss the difference between what we just covered, which was criminal law, and what we're covering this lesson with private injuries versus public offenses. Okay? Your essential question is, how is a crime different from a tort? So based on what you know now, or what you think you know now, 10th grade, somebody tell me what they think how a crime is different than a tort. Yes, ma'am. Which one? I mean, which crime or tort? Tort is dealing with, okay, tort is dealing with personal items. Okay, Matthew?
Crime is an offense against a society.
Okay.
Tort is an offense against one person, maybe two or three people.
An individual. Okay, so crime is an offense against society as a whole, and a tort is an offense or a wrong against an individual, which is what Cajun said. So very good. Okay. All right, so we have crime versus tort. Again, crime is an offense against society. Tort is a private or civil wrong. This is a definition. If you already have this written down on your note sheet, you do not have to rewrite or reinvent the wheel here. Okay? Torts are corrected by recovering damages. Okay? Damages, generally, is money. Occasionally, the damage will be to right the wrong, if we used an example earlier, Marcus, of your dog going onto another person's property. To stop the dog from going on the property would be the way that you'd right that wrong. But most often we're talking about damages. We're talking about money. Okay? Oh, in our picture here, we see an example here of a tort. Now, this guy is punching this guy. Okay? How do you right the wrong of having someone right under there in the red box? Just grab some. How do you right the wrong of having someone punch you? What are the injuries that you've received here? Okay, maybe like a physical injury. Okay, it looks like he's in it with a lot of other people. Could he have potentially received some injury to his reputation or his emotions? Maybe, okay? So he might say, in order to repay him for the injury, the physical injury, he had doctor bills and he missed work, so we might have the doctor bills, the missed work, the missed income, and then also he might try and tack on, this additional level of, and I was embarrassed in front of all my friends, and to me that's worth $1,000. Okay? Now we'll talk about the mental anguish element of tort law in a little bit, but yes, ma'am. Yes, that is what happens in civil law. Now, we have what we've called tort reform, so we've changed it so that we're not shelling out cash for people's hurt feelings, you know, on a regular basis. Otherwise, then this, you can imagine how many people would you file a tort against? Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes, it would be a civil wrong. Yes. Okay. So, damages. This is a definition of damages. If you don't have it down, you want to write it down. It is monetary award or compensation for injuries done. And the injuries, what are they? We'll talk about that in a minute. But they need to be actual injuries. But we have our damages as our money. Okay, got that? All right, so on page 81, I would like someone please to read into my handy dandy microphone. Hold on, Marcus, or I mean Matthew has his hand up. Okay, read the what's your verdict here, please.
When he applied for for when he applied for his license as a ferry pilot for the city, Jerome failed to tell the Coast Guard about his high blood pressure and prescription drug use. Some 3 years later, while operating the ferry, Jerome passed out at the controls. As a consequence, the ferry crashed into a dock, killing 18 commuters and injuring dozens more. At the time, Jerome was also taking two medications for back pain. Both the pain medications list drowsiness as a possible side effect.
Okay, so did he? I'm sorry. The question here is: can an act be both a tort and a crime? Okay, because what we have here is it a crime? Okay, essentially, I don't know. I'm asking you: has he committed a crime, or is it just an accident? Hi. Okay. Okay. So because he was on prescription drugs, even though they were prescribed to him, the consequences of being on those drugs could have compromised his ability to operate. I mean, a ferry boat is a huge responsibility. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. By operating this ferry boat, he was committing a crime. He was driving under the influence. This ferry boat. He was driving under the influence, even though it was an influence of a prescription medication. He was compromising his ability to operate the vehicle, and then he put society at risk. Okay, so it was a tort and a crime, which we'll come back to that again. But okay, very good. Um, Now, the definition, I want you to know this definition, and this was not in your chapter that I saw, but I want you to have it. Negligent or negligence. Okay, please, if you don't already have it down somewhere, um, do you do you have it? Oh, okay.
Um, Negligent is in neglect or carelessness of someone else or something.
Okay, neglect or carelessness, failing to take proper care in doing something. Okay, failing to take proper care in doing something. So if you are negligent, which is what our example, our ferry boat driver, he seemingly was negligent in his actions. Okay, he did not report to his supervisor that he was under the influence of these medications, um, and therefore he was compromised as he was driving. Okay, when you are negligent, you do not have intent to commit crime or to commit tort, to cause injury. You don't have intent, but your careless behavior results in the injury, and therefore you are held responsible. Okay, um, teenagers are huge offenders of this whole category because you are constantly doing things, and then you say, "But I didn't mean for this to happen or for that bad thing to happen," but it does. Okay, and so you are guilty of being negligent. Okay, everybody have this definition. Okay. All right. So in the what's your verdict? Jerome here committed. Oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, he committed two crimes. He committed both manslaughter and the crime of failure to disclose. Okay, because he was operating a public transportation vehicle, he should have disclosed his condition to his supervisor. And then he committed a tort with his negligent conduct. So 10 years for each count of manslaughter of the people that he killed. Okay, and then also the damages would be awarded to the injured people and the families who lost loved ones. Now, who would pay here? Who would pay? Who would cough up the dough in this case? Jerome? Do you think Jerome has a lot of money? He's a ferry boat driver. Huh? Jerome does need a lawyer, yes. But Jerome has, I mean, he has maybe $100,000. Maybe. He's a ferry boat driver. Okay? It's a boat that transports vehicles across a waterway. Okay, so it's a huge boat. So he's like the same thing as a bus driver, similar. Okay, so he's got a job. It's a good job. But does he have millions of dollars? No. Okay, how much is a life worth? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you put a price on that. There is a calculus where they put a price on people's lives. But I would like to think if my husband were killed on that, I couldn't keep my house. I couldn't keep my life as it is. I need my husband's income. Okay? Forget the fact that, my whole life would implode because I like him. So that would suck. But you can't. But if we're talking monetary value, we're talking a lot of money, okay, over the life of a person. So we're talking millions of dollars. Jerome doesn't have millions of dollars. So who do we look to? Who would be responsible here, Jerome or the ferry boat company? Yeah, because a ferry boat company, they have some money. Okay? So now instead of suing Jerome, we're going to sue the people who were Jerome's boss. Okay, Mr. Ferry Boat owner. So Jerome is the man who caused the accident, but whose responsibility was it to make sure that Jerome was not operating under the influence? The bosses, yeah, and the owner of the company. So that's how that liability climbs up. And so now we're looking at the ferry boat company. They have what we call deep pockets. We mentioned this before. They have a lot of money. And then we're going to sue them for the loss of these lives and the injuries that were caused. Okay? Do you understand that? All right, moving on. There's a name for that. We'll learn that in a minute. Okay, so the elements of a tort, there are 4. You will need to know this. So if you don't have it down, you want to make sure that you got it. But we will go through this. You will have to be able to identify these 4 elements when I give you a scenario. Okay, we need to have a duty, a legal obligation to do or to not do something. Jerome, did he have a legal obligation to the people that he was driving in the society that he was driving in? You betcha. He had a legal obligation not to crash his boat. Okay, to remain in a mental state that was able to operate without wrecking. Yes, ma'am. Did he also get arrested? No. Not necessarily, no. Criminal liability is is different than civil liability, okay? So it will be more difficult to hold the president or the owner responsible. You'd have to prove that he knew. You would have to prove that the owner knew that Jerome was using the stuff and still said, let's go ahead and see what happens. Okay, it's a different standard of proof because we're talking about putting that person in jail versus making him pay money. Okay? All right, so we have a duty. Jerome had a duty to society. He had a duty to the people he was driving. The breach was a violation of duty. He crashed the boat. So did he breach his violation? I'm sorry, he took the painkillers. He took the painkillers, thus compromising his mental state, and that would be his breach, okay? The injury, the physical damage, or something that you can point to and say, this is where it's broken, would be the 18 lives that were lost and the all of the injuries that were established. So that is our harm that's recognized by the law, okay? So in this case, we definitely have injury. And then the last one is causation. This is proof, bless you, that the breach caused the injury. Okay, so our damage is the boat is the death. Our injury is the death of the people. Okay, the breach is the prescription medication and then driving the boat. Okay, now if Jerome just sat at home and did drugs, would all those people die? No. But can we find a direct link between Jerome's actions and the death? Yes, because Jerome got behind the wheel of a car or boat, sorry, and then the people died. So that is called proximate causation. Okay, it is the way that we link it all together. All right, if Jerome had just gone home and sat at home and did whatever his prescription medication, those people would have they would not have died as a result of his driving. Okay, and my pictures here. Call of Duty. When I typed in duty, it came up. So I thought I should throw it up there. What does duty mean in the name Call of Duty here? Yes, Matthew? Your responsibility. Okay, you've been called to be a soldier in this World of Warcraft or whatever you are. Whatever. Okay. We have this picture here. This is a picture of what? It's an explosion. Okay, so this is a picture of damage, of injury. Okay, now, this is not injury to a person. Who's being injured here? What, what lives in there? Creatures and wildlife and society and nature, and then the air is polluted, and there's all kinds of injury happening. It's not necessarily an injury like a boo-boo that you point to, but there's a lot of money and a lot of damage that's caused by this explosion here. Okay, so that is those are our pictures. All right, so here's another what's your verdict. On a windy autumn day, Mason was burning leaves in his backyard. Okay? He went inside to check on his son, make sure he's still sleeping. And when he did, the wind picked up the fire and it jumped over to a fence and then a shed. And then next thing you know, the gas can explodes and the house burns to the ground, the neighbor's house. Okay? Did Mason commit a tort here? Okay? Yes, why? We have injury. Okay, the property was burned down. What else do we have? What? Okay, it was a private property. Okay, the unattended fire is our breach. Okay, so we have a fire on the private property, and then we left it alone. That's our breach. Okay, what was the duty? What was the duty? Duty. What was the expectation of Mason? Well, yeah, in general, to not burn down his neighbor's house. Okay? I am expected to not cause damage to my neighbor's private residence, their property. Okay? That's the duty. And he was negligent in burning the dry leaves on a windy day. Was not a great idea. Okay? But the big problem was when the breach happened, he left the fire, and then he missed, like otherwise he might have been able to stop it before it happened. But okay. All right, so very, very good. We have our duties. Okay, we have a duty not to injure another person. These are the duties of tort law as they are established by the law. Okay, we have a duty not to injure others, including bodily injury, damage to reputation, which we'll talk about, and invasion of privacy, which we'll talk about. And duty not to interfere with property of others, which is, okay, trespassing, but in this case, we interfere by burning it to the ground. Okay, and then duty not to interfere with economic rights. We'll talk about contract law in a little bit. So that's our duty. The question of law, the judge will decide if the duty existed. The judge will say, did Tyler owe, Kasia a duty to, whatever, not trip her in the hallway and make her bust her teeth? Okay, and the answer would be, in that case, the judge would probably say, yes, you don't do that. Here's my little funny for the day. If a person falls in a department store and there's no one around to see it, do you still have a lawsuit? Okay, so the idea there is if something happens, which things happen all the time, If there's not enough proof on either side, can you still make a case of it? It's harder, yes. It's sometimes too hard and not worth the money. Also, I don't know. Do you have $1,000,000? Close. Oh. Well, anyway, maybe it wouldn't be worth Keisha's time to sue Tyler for, her chipped tooth. Maybe she's not going to make enough money on it and whatever. So you have that going on here. I'm sorry, Keisha. We'll leave your teeth alone. Yes, ma'am. Oh. Oh yeah, maybe that's funny. I don't know. I was thinking my mother-in-law works. She's a scanning manager in a store, a grocery store in New Jersey, and she has seen over the years people spill things and fall on purpose so that they can sue the store owner. And now we have cameras around, okay, and that's why they're so crazy about cleanup, okay, because if there's a spill in a store and you fall, you could potentially sue the store for your injuries that occurred. But they have people that would try and stage it. So anyway, okay. Violation of duty. The breach of duty must be proved, okay, before the injured party can collect the damages. We have two kinds of torts that we're going to discuss here. We have intentional, when the breach happened because I intended to. Okay, can I keep picking on you, Tyler? He walked up to Keisha and he shoved her down the steps, okay? And then she fell and she, broke some things, broke a nail, broke a tooth, broke a toe. All right, and then we also have negligent. Tyler was running to get somewhere. He was late. He had to get there, and he accidentally pushed Keisha, and then she fell. Okay, it was not intentional, but it was careless. And so as a result of his careless behavior, the damage occurred. Do you understand? Yes? Okay. So intentional and negligent are our two kinds. Generally speaking, a lot of our tort law comes down to the negligent, the careless behavior, the reckless behavior. But when we're talking about money, we would be discussing, like we're looking for ways to get deep pocket people to pay. So I think this is the next. Oh, an injury. Injury must be proved, okay, that if you act recklessly, but no one is injured, there's no tort. Okay, so maybe someone was running down the hall 100 miles an hour. They were flailing their arms around and acting a fool, and nobody got hurt. You could still be angry and say, wow, yeah, it was stupid. Somebody really could have gotten damaged or hurt, but nobody did, so you can't sue them for that. My example here, can you see these pictures? Okay, there is a guy standing in the bed of a bulldozer front end loader. Okay, and with that, he is using a sledgehammer to bang a steel pole into a ground next to a utility pole. Okay, nothing could go wrong here, right? Okay, not the smartest thing happening here. Over here we have a store called Double Shot Liquor and Guns. It's a drive-through. Okay, it says hunting and fishing licenses sold here. Nothing could go wrong if we're selling liquor and guns to people in a drive-through. Okay, probably not the best idea. But anyway, the idea here is that even if something could go wrong, but it doesn't actually occur, we have no tort. We have to have an actual physical or legitimate injury that's recognized by law. Okay, and we'll talk about the pain and suffering later. All right, causation. This is the breach of duty that caused the injury. We have to be able to point to something and say what caused the injury. In Keisha's case, when she fell down the steps, it would be as a result of somebody running too fast and tripping her down the steps. Okay? In this case, right here, we have injury is reasonably foreseeable. There are two adults here, a child on a chair, and a baby in arms riding a motorcycle. I don't know, but we could look at this situation, and if these people get into an accident, we could say it was foreseeable that something bad could occur. Okay? We also have, where is my other picture? There. This one. Whoops. This picture, okay, when she is texting, she is not able to to use her full, focus on a road. So it is foreseeable to say that texting would be a breach of duty and therefore would be your causation for the accident. Okay. What would be the causation for our example with the ferry boat driver? Yes, okay. Taking his medicine, okay, would be the cause of the accident, okay, that he was unable to focus, that caused the accident, that caused the injury. Very good. Thank you. Liability, something that someone is responsible for, okay, it increases the chance of something occurring. And I have two little examples here. So the guy says, no, I didn't bother with public liability insurance. And it's a trampoline academy. So he didn't get any insurance. And then there's a picture of a guy in the roof and a picture of a guy flying out the window. So liability is when you are responsible. Liability is when you are responsible for something. And in this case, the trampoline increases the possibility that an injury will occur. Okay, and then the other one says he's at a flower stand and it says something that says I'm sorry without admitting liability. He doesn't want to say he's officially sorry because then he'd be responsible. So he just wants to apologize. Tyler might send Kasia flowers. Sorry for knocking you down the steps. Hope you're good. But he doesn't want to say officially that the reason that you're have all these injuries is at directly his fault. So anyway, liability is responsibility. Okay, applying these elements. Let's do Mason. The Mason, our case here. Here we go. On the windy day, do we have a duty? Does Mason have a duty to his neighbors? Yes, Mason has a duty to the neighbors. Okay, do we have a breach of the duty? Yes, okay, the breach of the duty was when? When he left the fire unattended, okay? When he left and went to check on his son, he left the fire unattended. Do we have injury? Yeah. The house, the property, very good. Okay, no injury to people, but the stuff is gone. All right, and lastly, do we have causation? Can we connect the dots between the duty, the breach, and the injury that occurred? Yeah, okay, it's pretty clear. So, that's just what this says. He owed the duty to the neighbors not to injure their property. He breached it when he left the fire unattended. Okay, the injury occurred when the house was burned to the ground, and leaving the fire unattended was the proximate cause. We can connect the dots, okay, with proximate cause for the loss of the house. Okay, oh, can you name the four elements of tort? You can look at your book and your paper, Tyler. Duty, breach, injury, causation. Bang. How about a pound? How about an elbow? I feel the love. Okay. Duty, breach, injury, causation. I want you to be able to identify these four elements in a case. When I give you a case, any kind of case study, I want you to be able to figure out whether there was a duty, if there was a breach, what was the injury, and whether there is a connected dots causation. Okay, you should be able to do that. This last one here, we're going to talk more about liability, the various kinds of liability, because there is vicarious and then there is strict. And they're kind of complicated. But here, I didn't steal, I'm borrowing. It's on loan. A copyright cartoon, but it says, you are open after hours in violation of state law. This bar's owner is so busted. Okay, so the bartender kept the bar open, and he's serving people after hours. So it's 3, 4 in the morning. And that's against the law. And then the bartender says, the owner? Not me? Cool. I don't have to worry about it then. So the vicarious liability, okay, the bartender keeping the bar open, who is really going to pay for that? Is it the bartender or the bar owner? The bar owner is going to pay the fines. The bar owner is going to be responsible. Okay, so that's called vicarious liability. So the ferry boat driver, our ferry boat example. Well, let's see. How about here? Who would be responsible for the injuries that might occur when the double shot liquor guy buys a gun and, Okay, the owner would be, there might be vicarious, even though the actual injury with our ferry boat example, the injury was caused by Jerome the driver. The actual the money is going to come from the ferry boat owner, okay, the company, okay, because that's our vicarious liability. It was up to him to make sure that Jerome was in the right mental state to operate his boat. Okay, you have 10 minutes left for your ticket out the door. On a piece of paper, you can use a piece of scratch paper here. I would like you to answer for me the essential, pass those around, the essential question. Okay, answer for me the essential question, which I will put back up here. Oh no, here it is. Okay, how is a crime different from a tort? Please use details from our theory here to give me your answer.
Think about this past summer, not like the trespassing, but the other thing. Like I have like different theories about like what could have happened. Like she would have like even tried to sue us. I'm surprised she didn't. But basically, to fill it all, it was in July.
Oh, let me turn this off really quick. 1 second. Please put your name on it. Just put your name on it, and then